let me know. Okay. Sure, Mary. What's so last year when we started back in March of 2020, even a year and a half ago, we had to compact some standards to get us through from the end of March, remember, until June. And that was a crazy time. We did that, and then when we began September last year, we also had to take a look at how long we were in school. So, what were those lessons that were going to be live and ready to go, and utilize those standards that were really important and essential for students, and what were we going to be able to give students in addition to work on. So that kind of changed our pacing. So when I say we've updated pacing, we're like back to normal, right? Back to normal. So that additional pacing. Most definitely. So in the RTI system that we have, Tier 1 not only has interventionists but teachers. So we have those toolkits for classroom teachers. And the wonderful thing that the board has been able to provide for us is coaches and coordinators. And so our coaches and coordinators are able to help teachers to say, what would be best to choose from. So looking at the data, if you're having a team meeting, a data meeting, you're getting to know those students, then the next step logically is to go to see what would be best for those students. So working with the coaches and the teachers to try to make those decisions. Sure.
First of all, I notice all of the data is based on a national average. Is it possible to see where we are at the state level, like compared to other New Jersey schools?
So, good question. So, if you go back, I'll just go back real quick to show you, and I think Neil is going to share this with you after. When you are working in a company that is a norm referenced assessment, they're not a New Jersey based only. The only time that you can compare yourself to New Jersey is when they take the NJSLA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my other question was, obviously this is happening nationwide. Everybody's got learning loss. Is there any data out there as to when we can expect to be back on track to where we would be without COVID? Is that information out there? Is it a 5-year plan? Is there any kind of information available out there?
From NWEA, or do you mean from the state?
Either, just in general.
I don't think there's a timeline that I've read in the research that I've done or that the state has put out in terms of a timeline of recovery. I think it really depends on your students.
Sure.
Yeah. So and that's the great part about Linkit is we're able to really progress monitor and see where our kids are.
So hopefully by next year we'll start to see the gap starting to close again. Right?
I would most definitely,
Right.
most definitely. I would love to even sit it the next time I stand up here, maybe in the winter.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure.
What have our surrounding districts seen? What have our study they what is their technical brief to some may, I know not everybody uses that.
Right, not every, yeah, yeah.
What are they seeing as a result of their district in terms of learning loss comparative studies, and how do we compare to them?
It's hard to compare per district if we're all doing different assessments. That's difficult, but we do have monthly meetings as a curriculum committee. As a curriculum consortium, excuse me. And that hasn't been a topic yet. I think in the busyness and the craziness of getting back to school, but that's something that I think our consortium is definitely looking into. But I know just off the cuff, everybody's experiencing a decline.
time this year, right?
We do, and yes.
So fall's gonna start in September. When do we think that we'll be able to have a similar presentation to this on the fall sports? Like, when did that happen for you guys?
I think last year we did it in December, but in between we have Start Strong. So we will be presenting on that too, and I'll work with Neil and Diane to figure out how best to make that as palatable as possible, and probably do it together would be the easiest. Sure. Hi, Jen. I believe for after school, it's our ARA month, or not ARA. It's it's one of the ESSER funds. Right. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
The last part of the administrative report, I am required to report reporting period 2 of our student safety data entries. Reporting period 2 is January to June, I believe June 30. We had 11 total incidents, 3 incidents of violence, 2 of vandalism, 0 substances, 1 weapon, 6 HIB confirmed, 0 other incidents, 4 HIB alleged. That's all I have.
Okay, so at this point, I'd like to open the public participation on the public hearing regarding the SSDS report that Mr. Dickstein just presented. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education shall open the public hearing on the SSDS report, reporting period 2 for the school year 2021. So if anybody has any public comments or questions regarding that report. No? Okay. Seeing none, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education shall close the public hearing on the SSDS report, reporting period 2 for the school year 2020-2021. And at this point, I'll open up regular public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation. If anyone wishes to address the board, please sign in, state your name, place your address for the record. Statements are limited to 3 minutes, should not be abusive, obscene, or defamatory in nature. Just a reminder that the first opportunity for public participation is regarding agenda items only. So your questions should be limited to items that we're voting on the agenda tonight. Would anyone like to address the board in that regard?
I have, it's not an agenda item, but should I wait till the end?
There's a second opportunity for public participation on other items. Yes. Okay. Anybody have any other agenda item questions? No. Okay, so we'll start with the Personnel Committee. Ms. Costanza? On the bottom. Yeah.
Good evening. The Personnel Committee met this evening. In attendance was Mrs. Lambert, Dr. Breathauer, and myself. Missing was Mr. Amoroso, and we discussed all the items on the agenda. I would like to move the following. Number 3, retirement, Joseph Benedetti, which he was a bus driver, 22 years of service. We thank you for that. Number 4, resignations as listed. Number 5, adjustment to resignation dates as listed. 6, new employment as listed. We welcome you and wish you luck for this upcoming school year. Number 7, establish start dates as listed. Number 8, salary adjustments as listed. Number 9, adjusted start dates as listed. Number 10, leave of absence as listed. 11, adjusted hours as listed. 12, honoraria as listed. 13, rescind honoraria as listed. 14, summer clerical work updates as listed. 15, rescind offer of employment as listed. 16, ESL summer evaluations as listed. 17, additional compensation as listed. Any questions? Can I have a motion?
Roll call?
Mr. Amoroso? Yes. Mrs. Costanza?
Yes?
Mrs. Coslino?
I need to abstain on number 8.
Thank you. Mrs. Holtz?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Spellman?
Yes.
Mrs. Anatoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Patton?
Yes.
Mrs. Lambert?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, curriculum and policy, Ms. O'Sullivan.
Okay, last night we met as a committee. The following people attended the curriculum meeting: Mr. Dickstein, Dr. Breathauer, Dottie Speck, Kay Holtz, Mary Cosolino, and myself. Dottie presented to us the map results that you just saw, and she did a very fine job. Thank you, Dottie. We also reviewed all the items on the agenda. I would like to move the following items. Number 3, course reimbursement, as listed. Number 4, student-teacher practicum and observation placement, as listed. The first reading of policy number 1648, forward of COVID-19 health and safety, as listed. Number 6, home instruction, as listed. Number 7, the 2020 and 2021 SSSDS reporting period, number 2, as listed. And that is it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? I'm going to make a comment before we vote that there is on here the road forward, which is a required law mandated plan that the district had to put into effect pursuant to executive orders. The way board members vote at a public meeting does not reflect how they feel about the executive orders, but rather whether the district is doing what the district is required to do pursuant to those executive orders and followed all the criteria to meet the road forward plan that had to be put into place. With that said, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any noes? Okay. 3. Okay. Any noes? Okay. Okay. Finance, facilities, and transportation.
Thank you. The Finance, Facilities, and Transportation Committee did meet this evening. In attendance were Mr. DeVita, Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Patton, Mrs. Tolman, and myself. We had a lot, we discussed a lot of stuff. There was a draft for the long-range facility plan. We reviewed the facility plan budget. The cost for all of the identified capital project ranges from $75 to $87 million, depending upon roofing upgrades that we choose. There are 3 options for roofing for each building. If you subtract the nice to do projects, the cost goes down to 47 to 60 million. These projects include HVAC, controls, windows, 2 parking lots, security vestibules, and roofs. And we currently have 11 million in capital reserves to address these needs. We talked about the capital projects for 2022, which is the immediate need to replace up to 49 HVAC units in the next 12 to 24 months and add air conditioning to our hub rooms for our servers. The anticipated cost is 4.9 million. Due to longer than usual fabrication times for the HVAC units, if we want to get any of these done this summer, we'll need to discuss and take action to approve the architect to move forward with the project design. Ideally, we would like to put it on the agenda on September 28th. We discussed, as I'm sure everybody else's committees, the substitute rates, increasing the substitute teacher and bus driver rates to $110 a day and $25 an hour respectively to match regionals. We also discussed creating 2 permanent sub driver positions due to the lack of subs and the national driver shortage, and we would pay these subs to be on site at least 4 hours a day. Our current pool of sub drivers stands at 1 as of today. So we do want to move on that if that's something we're interested in. And we discussed the agenda items. Any questions?
I think we all discussed it in our committees.
Okay. I'm going to move agenda items number 2. Number 3, bills and claims in the amount of $912,685,000. Thank you to Mrs. O'Sullivan for doing the bills. Number 4, transfers as listed. Number 5, travel and related expenses as listed. Number 6, rescind travel as listed. Number 7, honoraria at the Laura Donovan Elementary School for performing arts and afternoon STEAM club and intramurals as listed. Number 8, honorarium for chorus at Applegate Elementary School. Number 9, rescind the honorarium for history club at Barklow Middle School. Number 10, the New Jersey School Boards Association virtual attendance as listed. Number 11, commission for the blind contract. Number 12, out-of-district contract as listed. Number 13, tuition contract for received students as listed. Number 14, the IDEA basic and preschool fiscal year 2022 grant as listed. Number 15, the MOESC child study team services as listed. Number 16, the ESIP payments as listed. Number 17, rescind the service contract with CPC as listed. And number 18, the memorandum of agreement between Freehold Township Board of Education and the Freehold Township Police Department for fiscal year 2021 and 2022.
Any questions? Our thanks to the Laura Donovan and Applegate School PTOs for the donations for the honoraria. All in favor, say aye.
We need a second first.
Oh, we need a second,
Yep.
yeah.
Second. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion
Motion carries. Yes?
We have to abstain on ourselves, right? So I need to abstain on number, what do you?
I do.
Yeah. We need to abstain on number, 10, is that where it is? Yes.
Oh, sorry, yes,
Yes.
number 10.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That's me. Number 9, number 10.
Okay. Old business, new business. We spoke about doing our retreat on September 20th, which we chose not to do in order to not conflict with the Central State COVID presentation for school boards. So we are back to picking a retreat date, which we want to do sooner rather than later. I welcome ideas.
Did we not want to use the 28th?
We-
were doing it for meeting.
We could do it with a meeting. The problem with the 28th is that Neil was hoping to present the strategic plan at that meeting. Do you have an issue with doing it the first meeting, if we do the retreat in lieu of a regular meeting, the first meeting in October?
The issue is that school boards presents on our behalf with us, and it's their availability. So already on the 28th, it isn't Kathy Weinkoff, it's her colleague. So it's their availability. If
No, I'm
they're-
saying October for our retreat, the first meeting in October in
Oh,
lieu
that,
of.
I misunderstood. We were planning on doing a testing presentation as required, but that I think we can shift. That's not, we have 60 days from the time we receive them, and they just came last week. So we can
Can we move that into the 28th?
We can.
Okay,
We can.
all right. So if we can move that into the 28th, then our first meeting of October will not be a regular board meeting, and we'll use it as a retreat.
12th.
The 12th, October 12th. Is everybody okay with that?
I will not be able to attend.
Okay.
I have a wedding on the 13th in Vermont. It was a COVID one that got pushed.
Okay.
Be here after the Freehold.
What?
I'll be here after we beat Freehold.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody else? All right. Are you okay with that, Elena?
Yeah, that's
We
fine.
have to move this along.
Right.
So, okay. So we'll leave it at the 12th?
Alright.
Is everybody okay with that? Real, the last chance, because if not, we're rolling with it.
Are we going to adjust the time?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have to advertise the time adjustment.
Start
Okay.
at 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, so hold on, that is it. Let me just write that down. For those of you that submitted retreat topics previously, I still have the list of all of those. If anybody else wants to submit a retreat topic or change something that's perhaps no longer important, or your questions got answered in the interim, shoot me an email so we can put an agenda together. Okay, moving right along. Going to move into public participation. This is the second opportunity for public participation. This would be on any item which affects the school district. If anyone wishes to address the board, please sign in, state your name and address for the record. Statements are limited to 3 minutes and should not be abusive, obscene, or defamatory in nature.
Can you push the mute button on there? It'll unmute it for you. I can come up if you need. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Desiree Ragusa. I live on 54 Geisler Road in Freehold. I wanted to know from a PTO perspective, what do volunteers look like for us if we have to have them vaccinated in order to come into the building?
I'm glad you asked because I was going to share that tonight after my committee meeting, which is policy. We are following the same procedure as we do for staff. So it will not be required that volunteers are vaccinated. It will be required that volunteers are either vaccinated or show proof of testing the week that they're coming in.
Oh, excellent. So there's an option.
There's an option. We just
Perfect.
needed time to talk about it, and that's what we decided.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Thank you to all the teachers this week too, by the way. And just one other thing, the buses that we have a shortage, is there any particular reason why we have like a bus driver shortage?
Yeah, it's actually a national issue. I actually read an article, Las Vegas, was it Massachusetts? Massachusetts called in the National Guard to drive buses
Stop.
because they can't get kids to school.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Another district in New Jersey shortened the school day
Yep.
Yes, in North
15
Jersey.
minutes.
15 minutes in order to get all the buses around.
Good grief.
I don't know.
The feds made the test harder almost a decade ago, and it's not just the driving test anymore. You actually need to be an auto mechanic and identify all the moving parts of the vehicle. And it's with it now we're also there's competition between everyone else is raising their wages. So do you want to sit here and go through this test? You want to go work at someone's paying you 18 to 25 bucks an hour to do something else.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's been happening for a while, and it's gotten worse over the last 2 years.
Thanks. Okay. I think
Bob
that's it.
spent the week working in transportation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Right. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for the board?
Here we go.
Am I 6 feet away from everybody?
State your name and address for the
Am I
record.
6 feet away from everybody?
You have to state your name and address for the record. State your name
Excuse
and
me,
address for
am
the
I
record.
6 feet away from you?
I'm asking you to state your name and address for the record. That is the requirement for public participation, and then I'll answer your question.
You're not gonna do it to me again.
I'm not doing anything to you. I'm asking you to state your name and address for the record.
Salvatore Saluccio.
You're gone.
No, I'm not.
Put your mask back on.
Salvatore
Put your
Saluccio.
mask back
I live on 4 Trinity Place. Let's go.
Oh, now you're going.
Let's go.
Now you're going.
Let's go.
Take him out.
No.
He's done.
Wait.
Recess. Cut
No.
the
No.
camera. Recess.
I didn't even speak. Get off my phone.
Get out. Get out.
Let
You
me
don't.
talk.
My name is Marianne Chouino. I could just put my address here. Is that okay?
Yes, you can.
So I just have a question regarding, you said that volunteers and parents, whatever, have to get either vaxxed or show the negative test, whatever, to walk into a school building. What happened with sports when we saw basketball indoors?
That's a good question, and I don't have an answer for you yet, but I will start looking into that.
Okay.
No,
No, but if you
spectators, I
want to
think.
come in to see your child play a
I
sport.
don't, I will get an answer for you. We didn't get that far, and it's a very good question.
Okay, I just want you guys to consider that. like,
Absolutely, I appreciate you
you
bringing
know,
it to our
as
attention.
a parent, I want to come into the school to see my
Yes.
kid play.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And we want you to come in and see your kid play. So thank you for asking. We will put it on our list of things that we'll get back to you about.
Because if I understand your question correctly, because especially for basketball, you'd be in the building a couple of times a week, perhaps. Okay, yeah, that, yeah, hadn't thought of that. Okay. Okay. Would anybody else like to address the board? Any questions or comments?
Hi, my name is Renata. I live in Freehold. Let me sign in.
Renata, just make sure you put your full address on the paper. If you didn't want to state it out loud, you have to write out the full address, okay? Thank you.
Never spoken really in front of group, so excuse me if I get a little nervous, but I had a couple of comments about last week's.
Can you please lift your mask? Because you're
I-
at a public microphone. I have to have you in your mask at
Okay.
the public microphone.
Because I have a trouble with breathing. So my concern is with the masks that the children have. I know you've talked about it last month, and I know everybody's decided that it's the right way to go, but What are the studies that has anybody made on cloth versus paper versus N95s versus a T-shirt versus a tissue? Are there any studies?
We are implementing, we're not doing the studies, we're implementing the executive order that we're required to
underst-
do by law.
I
So,
know, and that's the
A, you
answer,
know,
but
mhm.
you know, soldiers were gave that same answer when they were executing people in Nazi Germany. You know, this is our order. That doesn't mean you have a duty to follow an illegal or immoral order. An order that hurts children, that stops them from learning, reduces their IQs, causes breathing bacterial pneumonia, causes facial bacteria and infections, is not a legal or moral order. I mean, you're all looking at me with a blank stare, but you have that option to refuse it. We're not a communist country, guys. All right, that's one point. Obviously, not going over well.
Yes.
I'd just like to address that for a second.
Certainly.
While we have the mandate from the governor, should we not follow a mandate from the governor? And one child gets sick and one child ends up seriously ill, we open up the entire district to lawsuits because we did not follow a mandate.
I'm not sure that that's legally true
It is legally true.
because there are plenty of doctors that are giving bad medical advice and they're not being sued for bad advice.
Maybe no one's suing them, but it
And what
doesn't mean
about
they
the
can't be sued.
the pharmaceuticals that are giving out these vaccines? They're approved, but they're
But-
protected from being sued. That doesn't make them right.
They're not protected, and we aren't really here to discuss the legality
Yeah,
of the
I
mandate.
understand.
It's not our place to discuss the legality. As board members, we take an oath when we are elected to this office to uphold the law of the state of New Jersey as it pertains to the school district.
But that's not a law.
As
It's a
we-
mandate. That's a law. That
The
a law
mandate is a
different.
law. It's just given to you through a different channel. Some laws are legislated, some are mandated. I'm not going to argue the legality of the law or the mandate. As Board of Education members, we are sworn to uphold the law in the state of New Jersey. We cannot hinder that law. We cannot obstruct that law. We are required to uphold it. And if we don't like it as individuals and citizens of this state, we can do whatever we'd like to address it with our legislators or our governor. But as a collective member, a body of a Board of Education, we are required to uphold the law. And that's why I tell everybody here, please put your masks on, because that is the law right now. Whether we like it or not, whether you like it or not, that is what we have to follow.
Oh.
What? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for your
All right.
time.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board? Okay. Seeing none, I want to thank those of you that came out here personally tonight, and for those of you at home watching on YouTube. Again, I'd like to continue to wish our teachers and our students continued success this school year. Obviously, you saw from our presentation, there's a little bit of learning and growing that needs to take place, and we hope that that happens. You know, I do have to address this, and I'll say this in light of the mask controversy. There is a mandate in place. The rule in this building, when you are in a school building, is your mask has to be on and it has to be secured properly. If you have a medical reason not to have a mask secured properly, you must present a doctor's note. If you don't have a doctor's note, you can choose to watch the meetings from home on YouTube. Or you can take mask breaks outside the building at certain points during the meeting. So I do want to thank all of you for cooperating with that tonight, and for those of you that are watching from home that would like to attend in the future, to remember what the mask mandate means while we're present in this school building. I do thank you for coming, and with that, I'd like a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Good evening.